Hey y'all, I am VictorÜ. I help provide insight to empower, and today I wanted to cover interpreting dreams and visualization, or working better with your third eye, the imagination, and so on. So the way it pertains to dreams and visualizations is how it feels. So one has to be pretty well connected to their emotional centers. And I can do another video on how to clear those emotional centers, but just very quickly, it's if you feel this bone down in between your chest towards the base of your rib cage, which is just above your diaphragm. So for me, it's like about right here. If you look up, I think it's like C17 or NC17. It is a acupuncture point, and it deals with the emotional centers. So connect with your emotions, how you feel, get grounded. See if I can turn this down. It's warm in my car. Oh, that feels nice. So interpreting dreams, you have the dream, and it's very, what you may already know or not, it's very metaphorical. It can work more like an analogy that your subconscious is trying to communicate to you, because in the subconscious, it works a lot more emotionally. It's open to interpretation, and what we use, the tool that we use to interpret, is how we feel, which is often framed as emotion. So using myself as an example, last night I had a pretty wild dream. I had a few wild dreams that were kind of, I guess, interconnected, and based on a past life. So another layer to this is that some dreams, you may be working out past lives, past life karma, releasing that, moving past that and beyond that in your dreams. And this is what happened last night, where one of my tasks or homeworks, spiritually, emotionally, energetically, recently has been in separating and cutting the cord between my mother and I, and healing my mother wounds, because she's kind of used whoever was at her disposal, but me and my sisters in many cases, to bypass working on her own emotions. So she would put a lot of her own stuff on us, and this works. I've seen this play out in gift giving. Her house is full of stuff. She's a hoarder and a recovering hoarder, but there's still so much accumulated there. The things that she wanted to buy but never, gave to anybody or wanted to return. She had this buy and return kind of thing. But it was very reflective of the way which she learned to love, was to hold on to love because of her traumas, because of her programming. Hold on to love, and kind of use it as a bargaining chip. So in giving somebody a gift, that was her way of getting her hooks into that person, gaining favor. And so in this dream last night, I was, again, I was a young boy in a house in a different country, but we were very poor, and my dad wasn't around, and it was just me and her, and she was I could tell this was my subconscious or my spirit getting me to see the relationship that is still playing out, the karma that is still that I'm still in a loop in. So seeing a little more objectively, which is what our dreams allow us to do, I saw this little boy who didn't know that in order to grow, he needed to detach from his mother. And he was kind of being a surrogate husband in that way. It's a very, very young boy, between 8 to 10 years old, maybe. And in that dream, there was a clown, as there usually is, And clowns are so loaded with meaning. I mean, just in the way I interpret it, how it feels to me is that there's this thing, there's this kind of person who's, let's say, made to entertain, but they're wearing makeup. They kind of have like a smile painted on. So there's like the smile painted on, just for me, has usually meant someone is wearing a mask and is not relaying their true emotions. So they're kind of untrustworthy in a way. Like, I feel like you're meant to, yeah, like even now as I'm interpreting this, there's more meaning coming out of, like, I feel like I should be able to have fun around you, and you're like a source of, like amusement, or joy or fun or play. But I don't trust you. I'm actually very scared of you, which is how in this life I have felt around my mother, and how that's like created in my attachment style in relationships with women, has been like very anxious avoidant. I would love to be in a loving relationship with some woman, but like I'm also very afraid. So when I'm not in a relationship, I tend to put it off, and I tend to just transmute, rework, reframe the like sexual energy into creative pursuits, which is awesome if I do that intentionally. If I'm doing that to avoid being seen, being vulnerable, being heard with a woman or by a woman, then that's avoidant, and that's not healthy. That's coming from a wounded place, and that's what I need to heal and have been healing within myself. So in this dream, I'm kind of looking down an alleyway, and I see the clown just kind of like creepily poke out, and I remember like seeing him being like, I see you, come out, come here. And he tried to like scare me and like kind of quickly like move up on me and like get like right in my face. I just wasn't fazed by it. I felt some fear, but at the same time I was standing my ground, which is huge for me, because when I got my aura picture and reading, the thing that the woman said was like, there's like cloudiness, or my aura isn't taking up space between my feet and by my right hip. By my right hip was standing my ground, and in between my feet was not being able to move forward. So being a people pleaser, being nice, playing the nice guy in order to like that was my survivalistic mindset of like, okay, in order to be loved, I need to like be nice or kind, or essentially self-abandon and portray myself like a clown, putting on like a mask as a kind, decent, like loving being. And it was just too much. It was more than I was genuinely feeling at the time, because even at the time I was still wounded. And usually I'm just like chill. Usually my baseline is just grounded, playful, and sincere. But if there was ever a girl that I liked, I would get into that, a frame or a state of being, a vibe of like being very insecure, not knowing how to be, who to be, like who does this person want me to be in order to be loved, so I can be loved. Because like when my mom was in one of her phases of like catatonic schizophrenia, she would just be on the couch staring out the window, completely irresponsive. She was like, her eyes were open, but she was just like in her emotions, in her trauma. Yeah, I mean, looking back or seeing her now through my eyes, there's a lot of compassion there, right? She was, I don't want to put her business out there, but she went through the freaking ringer, and in her trauma, she checked out. She had to go to like a place in her mind that was completely dissociated and disconnected from the present moment. And so in not just her, or mine, but our trauma, depending on the depth of the impact, that's usually what I've seen determine the depth or impact, or like the depth of our dissociation from the present moment, how much we tend to stay in our head and overthink. So I'm there with the clown, and it's like running up on me and like got in my face, and I just like, it said something, I can't remember what, but I just kind of like turned around, saw the kid, saw the mom, they were like kind of interacting, and that's when I'm like, this kid needs to detach from his mom, and I need to heal. Like, okay, like at once I saw that, and then immediately after I was like, okay, this is where I need to heal. And the clown came out again, and I just kind of like looked at it, kind of like the way that I would look at a dream, with open curiosity, seeing how I feel about this and seeing like what it wants to communicate. And it looked pretty much like Pennywise from like the newer It. And I just like kind of like look at it like, what are you doing? Like, why? A part of me had almost that vibe of like, what are you still doing here? So the clown for me represents fear, because that's what this clown was trying to get me to feel. Now, the clown may represent the same to you. The environment is definitely something to pay attention to, but always, always, always our tool for interpretation in this sense is how you feel about what's going on in the dream. So if you're ever going to sleep, and a very helpful exercise is you set the intention to be like, okay, like I'm about to go to sleep. I set the intention to reveal to myself what it is that I need to see about such and such subject, about relationships, about career, about finance, about, you know, this person, like I was having, you know, beef with, or just felt kind of off, like what do they mean by that, or whatever it is that you want to reveal to yourself or explore deeper. Just be like, okay, I set the intention to explore this subject a little deeper. I allow my subconscious to communicate with me and reveal what it is that I need to see. It can help to repeat it to yourself, or, you know, just the one time, and then just trust, allow it to happen. Allow yourself to go to sleep. It can be kind of exciting or frightening, depending on what you ask. And when you wake up, go straight to a notebook or straight to like the notes in your phone, and be like, okay, this is what happened, this, and this, and this is how I felt about this, and this, or that, and that. And as you're going through it, you're just getting information out, not necessarily prioritizing the immediate interpretation, although that just may be the case, that you get it, depending on where you're at with this. If you've never done this before, you may not even remember what the dream was, and it takes practice, right? Like, if I'm throwing a baseball, it's probably like I'm not going to go to the majors or the minor league right away, right? Unless I'm like some kind of savant, or just have that talent. I have to practice, and you know, always shoot for progress, not perfection. In dream interpretation, in self-development, in life, progress, not perfection. Because perfection, as we get better, perfection is going to be like a moving target. So yeah, that's how to interpret dreams, and the same thing for a visualization. So like if I, what comes to mind is if I am reading a person, or like I'm, like doing a healing for someone or the planet, my mind is open and I'm just kind of like observing the train of thought, right? And as you set the intention to interpret your dream, or to have a dream to interpret, your train of thought as you go to sleep is not necessarily to be ignored. You kind of want to like pay a little attention to that. And again, if you've never meditated, it's, we watch our thoughts like we watch, I don't know if you can see behind me, there's traffic, but we observe our thoughts the way we observe traffic, right? We're not getting in the car, we're not running out into traffic, be like, what is this car, what does that mean? So yeah, if I'm like doing a healing for a person, I'm being open, being curious. What is it that this person has? What is it that I need to communicate to them? And I'm just holding space for visualizations to come in. And how do I feel? What is the emotion that is being aroused that matches the visualization? Right? A picture paints 1,000 words, and I'm not trying to put words to the picture. I'm simply observing the picture and seeing what words are naturally coming to me. I'm not like trying to be cool or clever in what it is that I need to relay to them, because in that sense I'm putting my ego aside, and which takes a lot of practice and work, but I'm putting my ego aside so that I can let them know what they need to hear, not what they want to hear or what I want to tell them to sound cool or whatever, but let them know what their guides, what their subconscious, what so many different words for these things, what their higher self wants them to hear, regardless of being comfortable with like conflict may arise. Like, what if they didn't want to hear that? What if I'm like laying some truth on them and they're not ready to hear that, kind of, but that's just like requires me to be grounded in myself, and not take on somebody else's stuff, or the way like a story in Buddhism says, like, if somebody's talking shit to you, what do you do with that? And the master says, well, if somebody brings you poison to eat, or if somebody brings you food and you're full or just not hungry or don't like that dish, whose food or dish or poison is that to keep? Right? It's theirs. If you bring me food, I'm like, no thank you, that's your food. You get to keep that food. Somebody's talking shit to me, I'm just like, oh no thank you. That's their shit that they get to keep. I don't have to take that on. And be patient with your observations, right? And just be mindful of where you're trying to force an interpretation, or not wanting to see. Like, there's an interpretation and you're just like, no, it's not that. It better not be that. It cannot be that. I don't want it to be that, right? That kind of feeling. Yeah, I think that's it for now. Yeah. All right. Hope you found that helpful. Let me know of any dreams that you maybe, or visualizations that are recurring, that you want help interpreting, or just like, put that out there. Be like, this, I had this interpretation of this dream, and this is my interpretation of it. What do you think? Or just share. It'd be so cool. I love hearing about people's dreams and how they interpret them, and not necessarily the meaning that we create, but the meaning that comes to us and helps us move forward with grace and clarity. Yeah. All right, I'm sweating. Gotta get inside. All right, peace. Love you guys. Bye.